Hey everyone, this is Hill Street Soul, and you're tuned in to The Core with the Millennial Coach, discussing topics on real life. Check it out. Everywhere you go, don't forget the ghetto. Listen to The Core.
What up, people? It's the Millennial Coach, and I'm here with an addition that is going to help you get better for next year. So I hope that you're listening. Stay tuned for today's show, and welcome to The Core. And I'm back in the lab. So I hope you've had a good 10 days since I last spoke to you. Simply, I had the busiest, when I mean the busiest week, right? And I got a last minute request to go into work and do some stuff, right? And there was some, legal things that had to happen. So I needed to gather evidence, etc. So that happened it was on the weekend, I was told. So I had to be in literally a couple of days later. So it just threw my whole schedule off. So I just want to apologize if you were awaiting any episodes, but I'm back. The Millennial Coach is back. Right, so this is a warning to everybody in London, whether you're on the underground or you're walking down the road. This morning, after I had these wonderful things done, I'm walking down the road. Let me just show you. Minding my business. So I just want to, I'm pointing a few things out to you, right? So I always slip my finger in here when I've got my phone. And then I was just responding to a group chat for a meeting that we are supposed to have, because I work with a charity as well. So I was just responding, and some boy, so I had my headphones on, my big headphones, and I had nothing playing. So I could hear this really quiet noise beside me, and not knowing that there were thieves, right? So they came to snatch the phone. But because my finger's on it, he tried to snatch it, and because my finger's on it, he wasn't rough, right? I'm not trying to justify it at all, because trust me, when you hear what I've got to say at the end, then you'll understand why I don't justify this behavior. So when he did it, he kept trying. So I was thinking, what's he doing? So, and then he pulled it, and then I just dropped it on the floor, and then they sped off. And this woman was walking towards me. I think she was Eastern European. She goes, "You're so lucky." I said, "I always have my phone attached to my finger, always have it attached to my finger, because let me tell you something, this phone ain't worth stealing. Let me just make that clear. It's not an iPhone, just FYI. I bought it about 2 years ago. I always buy them straight from Amazon, £130. I don't like buying phones and then having these contracts that you're attached to for like 35 years with whatever network you're on, to pay 20 grand for, an iPhone. No offense, right, to Apple, because let's just keep it 100. The iPhone is magnificent. Every phone that we use is magnificent. So there's nothing wrong with iPhones. There's something wrong with the thieves. So as I sped off, my hope is that they get hit by a bus on the way to whoever they're going to traumatize next. And obviously I don't want them to die. At least they can have a couple of broken bones, just to teach them a little bit of a lesson. And hopefully it's not a hopper, it's a double decker. So then they really feel the impact. Simply because karma has to be instant in that respect. I've had friends, one of my friends was on her way to a conference. They snatched her phone out of her hand in central London. I was watching the other day, a girl was just standing there, snatched the phone. I've even had a thief jump, because I live in a semi-detached house, right? So somebody has snatched someone's phone. And what I have to say, the Uber drivers, a lot of them that I've experienced are like from South America. And honestly, the Uber drivers have a really good community, or delivery drivers, or whatever they are, like in terms of who they work for. But a lot of them are South American. But what I love is the camaraderie, and everyone supports each other. So some girl had got her phone stolen, and I heard screaming. And then it was, quiet afternoon. I'm working from home, in my little lab. And then the next minute I see some boy in my garden. I said to him, you better get the F out the garden. Then he jumped to the next garden. Then he jumped to the next garden. Then he got to Hazel, my neighbor. She's like 4 doors down. There's only 5 houses on this row, right? Hazel started screaming at him. The thing is, I think me and my neighbors, we're all not normal. Like, we're not trying to chase you. We would just make it obvious that we're also crazy. Then he jumps into a derelict playground that is behind our homes where there's just trees and greenery and probably rats and snakes in there. I've got no idea. So this boy disappears. They had police, they had helicopters. The boys were up and down, the Uber drivers or not, the mopeds, about 5 or 6 of them. They were like, have you seen him? Have you seen him? The police were useless. Because when I go outside and they said, are you the person that called? I'm like, yeah, but they're now advising me I said, well, he's not in the garden, and where he is, he's probably escaped, because I can tell how he probably escaped. So be careful if you're a tourist in London, be careful if you're even a Londoner. And it's probably not just happening in London, it's probably happening all over the country and probably in other parts of the world. But if you're gonna go out, get a phone case where you don't get, listen, if they were aggressive, they would have yanked the phone and I probably would have broken my finger. Okay, I would have got a good payout actually. Let me just, my insurance is quite good, so not wishing that for myself, but just saying, do you feel me? But anyway, just when you buy a phone, make sure that it's somehow attached to you, because you want to make sure that if anything happens, you're able to secure it. So that's all I wanted to talk about quickly. I do think it's a warning for everyone. Be safe with your equipment, because honestly, this thing that people are doing, stealing phones, is absolutely appalling. Like, have you got nothing better to do with your life? And is that really your goals in life? You're just gonna steal someone's phone who's just literally been working hard. And you know what's happening in the world. People are getting laid off left, right and center. So that may be the only way an employer, a potential employer, could get through to people. And if you are friends with people, and if you're in your 20s or some people in their 30s or 40s, so let's not pretend that just because somebody's older that they got sense. That's why I'm here, right? That's why I'm here. But let's make sure that we do not condone this kind of behavior. You have to grass them up. Don't feel that, or even give them a beat down. Like, if you and your family find out it's one of your siblings or it's one of your children, they need to be accountable. Like, I'm not coming to join the beatdown, but I would appreciate some old school discipline. Like, it's not okay to be stealing from people. You don't know people's situation, and the level of inconvenience you cause is too much. It's just too much. But I want to break something down to you today. We are talking about knowing when to leave. I've just ranted for 8 minutes, right? And I want to apologize simply because that I never speak about a different subject, but this was quite a serious subject. So, however, knowing when to leave. So I want to thank you all for tuning into the call with me, the Millennial Coach. So you know that I talk all things leadership, self-leadership. And what's important is that we can't control the companies we work with. And remember, employees, like our siblings, as individuals, you didn't choose them. They are brought into our lives through other means, yeah? So your parents have more children and you don't like your sibling, there's nothing I can do about that. If you don't like the people you're working with, it's really unfortunate if you enjoy the job. And also if you enjoy majority of the people you work with, but you seem to have to work with one person that makes your life absolutely traumatically difficult. So I'm going to talk about knowing when to leave the job, the relationship, and the friendship, because we don't talk about this enough, right? And why I'm saying that, I know firsthand as a human being, it's never easy to leave any relationship. And one of the relationships I struggled with to leave was a friendship. It took me 5 years of trying to understand the person, trying to figure out what's the problem, why is this happening, How can I be better? What do I need to change? How do they need to? Like, after a while, you're like, you know what? You're not my man. Like, this is too much. Like, I always say to women that are married, and I've got quite a lot of married friends and male friends, but my females, when they tell me other women are stressing them out, I'm like, sister, listen, the only person that should be stressing you out is your man. Like, and that shouldn't even be stressing you out. He should be sweating out your weave, like sweating out your hair. That's the kind of stress I'm talking about. Relationships sometimes become challenging, but you have a choice to rectify it, adapt, understand, and also understanding people's values. I'm going to do a show on values because there's some really important work that I've been doing lately, and it's really embedded the understanding of understanding someone else's values and how they match yours. But I'll talk about that on another show. But for me, knowing when to leave, if you don't know when to leave, it costs you, right? Your happiness, your growth, and sometimes even your peace of mind when you don't know when to leave. Those of you that are still in organizations, 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, every single year that you enter into with old energy that you haven't cleaned up, it will not get any better. So sometimes knowing when to leave is absolutely imperative, right? So what I'm going to do today, I want to just talk about how to empower yourself in this situation, right? So I'm going to, identify signs when it's time to move on, and also practical steps on how to evolve from moving on. So let's start with the job. I do my eyes like that, and I'm making them big because what I realize about a lot of organizations, they don't want healthy workplaces. They don't want to clean it up. And when an organization's been there more than 5 years, it becomes harder because it becomes institutionalized, that people sit in the toxicity and they sit and create more trauma by behaving in a way that doesn't yield the results that you want. And you wonder why you don't have high performing teams. But have you ever feel like when you're working, you're trapped because first of all, you got bills. Secondly, the job market's quite tough out there. And thirdly, in a lot of ways, before I go into the third point, I think the job market's become very ageist. We know there's a lot of issues with race when it comes to the job market in certain positions of authority. So if you're at base level, you're more than likely going to get a job. But a lot of the time, there's challenges, sometimes even gender. And it could be that you're even trans, that you may be struggling with getting work. So these are things to consider why, but some of the things that you want to understand when you're employed is toxic work environments create a level of instability in yourself because you become destabilized because you're bullied, and also because no one is listening to what your issue is. They're blaming you for why you've got to where you've got to, or you need to fix the problem, or you need to have a conversation. Now, it's an organization's responsibility to ensure that they knock out toxicity and bullying the moment they hear about it. Why do I say this? Because a lot of companies, this is what happens. If it's not sexual harassment in this day and age, people get to stay in the jobs and traumatize people. They get to stay there. But one of the other things that you need to realize is it's going to be constant disrespect for you as an employee when no one listens to you. You're going to have constant neglect, and also it's going to have a compounded level. Let me put my phone down. Sorry, we'll just throw it. Right. It's going to have a compounded level of toxicity. And what will happen if this is when you need to know that it's time to go. Obviously, we've got the news, we've got CNN, and people, it's called going postal. People don't get to those points because they're having a great time at work. They get to those points of what I've discussed. You've got to know when it's time to leave. And that's before, you get angry, But remember, anger is one letter short of danger, right? So if we put a D in front of the A, you got danger. So when you realize that every day you wake up and you do not have any motivation to go to work or log onto your laptop and you cannot stand, I know I've been in this situation, when people talk who are unqualified, actually not very good at their job, and they're trying to have control of the meeting, I know it's time for me to exit stage left, right? So you need to leave on a professional note, right? Build your skills and your network. So I would say if you know, okay, I'm done. And that's not trying to phone up sick every 5 minutes and, you don't turn up to work. It's a waste of time doing that. My recommendation to you as you start into 2025, as I keep saying, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2020, 2030, as we move into those years, what I'm going to say, because this is going to be relevant for any year as you start a new year, new you, new year, right? Is while you're there, and I'm talking about even right now. So what I would say, if you're really unhappy, create an action plan to leave the job and give yourself 6 months, because the job market is challenging. You're going to have to update your CV. And if I was in some of your situation, if I know I need to aspire to go to a new role that is executive level, go and get your CV professionally done. So then you can obviously do all of this, plan, okay, I need to update my CV. I need to speak to a careers person, pay them 300, 500 pounds. It depends on your level, because it will actually constitute the and validate the amount that you're willing to invest in yourself in order to be seen and heard. Reach out to your network, LinkedIn, your mobile phone. Hi, I really feel like I want to grow in this area. Don't tell them that you're unhappy. What you want to talk about is how you can grow in that area. Growing in a particular area is important because it gives you space to actually reach out to people who actually do the role that you actually may want to apply for. So therefore, internally, with your current network, okay? Use your skills, align, and start also thinking about, do you want to leave and go to a different industry? Do you want to leave and leave the country? This is all the things you need to start thinking about, okay? Leaving the job. You've got to give yourself 6 months. So my advice is, if you have to go into work, you've got to start distancing yourself and shutting up in the workplace. Because why I'm saying shutting up is, if you're reactive, you're actually going to basically tell on yourself by basically cussing them out. I don't want you to lose your job. So when I say distance yourself, anything they ask you to do, just agree and just bounce. Like, don't make it too difficult to be able to make your money, right? Once you're there, do the bare minimum. Like, do not be killing yourself, because right now we need to be job hunting. So you need to do the bare minimum. They ask you to do something, you do. If the report's due once every 2 weeks, then get that report done, 4 days before, have it ready, and then you focus on looking for work. Try your best to start negotiating working from home, because you've got arthritis. Like, you need to start thinking about how you're going to plan out your escape, because at the moment you are not happy. So these are the things that you need to think about. So I'm going to move on to the relationship. Now, red flags. Consistent arguing. When somebody likes to pick fights, I think that you have mental health issues, because I believe that coming home should be my place of peace. You can't have somebody in your life who's giving you stress for no apparent reason. As I said, and the kind of stress that I like from my man, when 50 does give me a shout, I want you to sweat my hair out. So my frustration is, now you got to take me to the hairdressers in the morning. That's the frustration that I'm looking for. I'm not looking for any other frustration. Or the other frustration is, you're trying to cook me a romantic meal and it don't taste good. Like, I'll be telling you, can you not put some seasoning in the food? This is the kind of stress I'm looking for. Or you've picked me, I've been waiting for you and it's raining and you're on your way, but there's traffic. I'll still cuss you when I get in the car, but I'm doing it from a place of love. That's the kind of stress I'm talking about. When people spend time being emotionally manipulative and also, as I say, picking fights. Now you need to start asking yourself, is this person that amazing that I can do life with for the rest of my life? Because to me, there's no point being with somebody that is giving you pressure and then you're now looking towards the future, but you don't see joy. If I'm like, and all I can see is rain, then we need to cut ties. The reason I say this is I think some of the drawbacks of people not addressing red flags is because many people are so scared to be alone. Now, believe it or not, people, I've ended relationships because you know why? I value my peace and I love myself more than I love lies, drama, and disrespect. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. Yes, it gets lonely. And what I will not suggest, don't get a friend with benefits because it gets complicated after a while when somebody tries to show you that they kind of want a bit more and you're just like, I'm not sure. But sometimes we question our own self when we're not feeling that person only because we're lonely, not because we really like them. So you need to be discerning when it comes to moving and knowing when to move on, right? One of the things that I definitely will say when you're in a relationship, if you have friends who are in healthy marriages in particular, or friends have healthy relationships, they may not be married, they may be in civil partnerships or same-sex relationships that are healthy, ask for advice and feedback on yourself. I've mentioned this before. Create an emotional recovery plan. And what I mean by that is when you create a recovery plan, that may include some therapy and CBT and healing. You may change your hair. Whether you're male or female now, it doesn't really matter. You can today have no locks, no hair, and then tomorrow you have locks. You might be bored and then you might buy a toupee. I don't know. Different strokes. Is it different strokes for different folks? Why an emotional recovery plan is important, you need to release any of the toxicity that's been inside you. So, as I say, up and out. That's the key thing when you are moving away and know when to leave. You need to create a plan of emotional and mental recovery. Then, and I would say, if you know you're like, let me tell you one exit strategy with one guy. He was such a dick, right? And after a while, I thought, you know what? I have not got the energy and the time to raise someone's son. I want to go like, as I said, like McDonald's drive-through. You go into the drive-through. You make your order. Can I get a quarter pounder with cheese, large fries, and a coffee, please, or water? I don't tend to drink sweet drinks. If they had a glass of wine, I probably would take it that at that point. When you get to the window, they're not going to give you a chicken sandwich, a fillet of fish, and nuggets. That's why when I've made my order upstairs, that's what I'm expecting down here, 50 cents. Shout me, bro. Shout me. So that's the thing, is you need to be clear when you have an exit plan. If you know the person that you requested, I feel like it's love at first sight. Married at first sight. I'm watching the US version at the moment, right? There's this, I can't even remember what the girl's called. I don't even remember what the guy's called, right? She's blonde. And I think he's like Hawaiian or Native American or indigenous. But he's so fit. And she's just like, I don't find him attractive. And she's just making his life hell. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, the guy has the patience of a saint. And I'm sitting and he's doing everything to say, look, I'm going to go buy the water. If you want to come and meet me and we go for lunch, let me know. She's telling him he's smothering her. I'm like, this is what I have a problem with, ungratefulness. There's some nice girls out here, right? Me. And I've got a whole host of other nice girls that I know, like really nice women, who would be so happy to be dating that guy. He's such a gentleman. She has a problem that his family have land or they have a house and he has his whole apartment at the back. I remember my brother's sister said to me, my brother's sister, my sister-in-law, my brother's wife said to me, if they buy a really big house, would I like an annex at the back? I said, are you joking? If I'm bringing man back to the house, I do not want my nephews trying to chime in and then my brother blocking the guy. My brother's very protective, so he's just going to mess up my whole game plan from the gate. So I get what the guy's saying, but the guy's saying that he doesn't have any issues with his family. He's completely disconnected. He has a different entry door. And she's like, oh, you live at home. Let me tell you something, right? You don't get into relationships for judgment. You get into relationships for growth, opportunities, reflection, feedback, and most importantly, unconditional love. And that's not abuse, right? When someone just thinks they can do what they like all the time and you don't say no, that's not unconditional. That's abuse, right? So if you are creating an emotional recovery plan, what are the things that you really have struggled with, and also where have you lost yourself in the relationship? Because you're also going to have to create a rediscovery plan. So that a rediscovery plan is rediscovering the things that brought you joy before you met this lunatic, whether it's a female or male. Let's just be real, right? Because some women, they're a nightmare, and I don't know, some people, right? I don't even think they deserve to be married or even deserve to have relationships because they're so horrible to the person. And men, some of the guys that you go, as I say, you go online and they're on about 9 different apps and you don't know who you're dating, if they're doing I don't know, if even, maybe they're actually dating people so they can pay off debt. I don't know. So each woman gives them money and by the end of the, if they're on 9 dating apps, maybe they're out of debt by the end of the year. I don't know what people are doing nowadays. I'm happily not dating, happily enjoying being the millennial coach on the So focus on self-love and healing, right? So that's your rediscovery plan, focusing on self-love. But let's just talk about our third, knowing when to leave the friendship. When the effort is unbalanced. Now, one of the things in friendships is having that clear understanding of what you bring to the table as a friend. And I'm not talking financially, I'm talking about how much effort and time do you give people. If someone's ill, do you check up on them? How often do you phone them? And the thing is, we all know we've got those lifelong friendships where you don't have to talk for 2 months and you completely catch up where you left off. And also, even you are growing independently, you both meet each other at your growth levels, even if it's even 6 months or a year. You've both grown and you both meet each other there. When you know when to leave a friendship, and this is why I said I struggled for 5 years. When I'm talking to certain people and it just feels like there's no growth. And so when you're talking to them, you may be talking to the version of them that you knew 20 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, but you're not talking to the version that you may both be at. And sometimes I think that friendships, they don't last because they don't have really honest conversations about what we're struggling with. And I try to be as honest as I can. As I said, that one friendship it took me 5 years to break up with this person. That's the only experience I've had like that. I'm the kind of person, if you use me, I'm out. If you're disrespectful and I have a conversation multiple times with you and it continues, I'm gone. If you are going to be disloyal, I'm out. There's no need for me to, at the age that we're at, this is when you know when to leave a friendship. If you are explaining to a grown adult after 21 years of, no, let me give you some grace. After 28 years of age, because 21, we're still dumb. Let's be real. I was doing dumb stuff at 21. I know you all were doing dumb stuff at 21, dating all the idiots, or the guys that were trying to be too fly, but now half of them are on crack or in jail, right? Like the ones that were in school and they were so cute. And we weren't thinking of the Dean Forbes, or the business guys, because, we weren't ready. Us young girls at the time, we just want to be, salt and pepper's here. And we're in effect, want you to push it. Like, that's what we were into, right? So we were young, dumb, and stupid. So I will give us grace at 28. If you are explaining to people how to behave towards you, then I think that if you want to open a nursery or a creche or, whatever it is, a kindergarten, then please go ahead and entertain that nonsense. But my recommendation is no. The other thing, when it's time for you to remove yourself from friendship, when they are constantly having drama, and it might not even be with you. And also when someone's always spewing negativity. Now, we all have bad days. Let's be real. We all have bad days. All of us. So now we have bad days. Yes, let it out. Tell people how you're feeling. And deal with the emotion. It may be that you do, I call them forgiveness letters. You might write, you might even write a letter to yourself, dear Millennial Coach, or dear God, I really am angry at this situation. Write out your feelings. And that's after but don't be pouring out negativity. And I realize sometimes I've got a process. I've realized that my process is to talk about it until I feel comfortable to let it go. And the key thing is talk about your issue with someone that understands who you are. One of the things we do is talk about people that don't deserve your vulnerability. And therefore, that's where the drama comes in, or they see you negatively. And then they sometimes associate you only with negativity. The other reason that you should pack your stuff and run from a friendship is when you feel completely unsupported in your life's journey. Now, I'm going to talk about mental health challenges. I think a lot of people do not talk about their mental health struggles. And I think a lot of people don't have the brain space or capacity to understand how to support people who actually have mental health challenges. I think this is something that we don't take seriously. And I think this can break down a lot of friendships because people do feel unsupported because people are not being open with mental health challenges. Or there's fear of being judged and shamed. But I do think when a friendship is a burden, we're too old, man. We are too old to not know ourselves. But key things that you can do is have an honest conversation, right? You can have an honest conversation with them. And I was very clear, this 5-year relationship with friendship. I had said, if this becomes too hard, I'm out. Like, I do not have the brain space, the capacity, the mindset to try to understand why why this is never going to be resolved. There's some relationships and friendships and jobs that cannot be salvaged, and that is absolutely okay. You may have outgrown them. The thing that we don't even realize, we've even outgrown our old self. So sometimes when you grow, you are even still, when you don't realize that you're still operating from the old version of yourself, that your spirit and soul no longer connects to. That's sometimes that level of disconnect that you have. If you're reevaluating your friendships, sometimes, so this is like when you need to go, but before you go, reevaluating is try to understand their perspective. Like, why did they behave the way they behave? Right? Remember Sjogren syndrome? My nose is starting to run for absolutely no reason. Distance yourself, because if you have distance, it gives you time to think about what is it that I love or like about this person, and what do they like about me, and how do we add value to each other's life. You have to reevaluate from a distance to actually understand what is the value in this relationship and why did we become friends to begin with. But the other thing you can do as you're ending a friendship is really look at what it is that you need from friends. And when you're evaluating your current circle, if they do not give you the energy that is required, think about going to places where you can build new friendships or meet new people and build new friendships that actually are value add. Because you have to remember that everything that you do is dynamic. You're living in spaces, whether it's the workplace, a relationship, or friendship. You are living in spaces that may no longer suit the version of you that has become. You also, when you don't take action, it makes you feel stuck. Like, why am I in this situation? Why am I dating this type of person? Or you don't have motivation to want to go out for dinner or, meet up and stuff like that. So transitioning is through evaluation. When you transition, you evaluate. When you create a plan, it's through evaluating your needs. And the thing is, we all have social needs. So we are social creatures through our DNA. We have to connect through that human interaction. So always remember that if you're making a choice for yourself and it's adding value to who you are, it's going to help you elevate and level up. If you're in a job, a relationship, or a friendship that doesn't add value to who you are, it demotivates you, it sucks your energy, can be draining, can drain you, but also it keeps you in a place that you have no business being in. So I am the Millennial Coach. You've been locked into the core, and you have been listening to Knowing When to Leave. Hope you've enjoyed today's show. Stick around, I've got more.